Imagine being born into a life where your identity itself is a curse, a label that brands you as inferior, untouchable, and condemned. This is the brutal reality faced by millions of Dalits who remain victims of India's racial segregation, a dark shadow beneath the facade of the so-called world's largest democracy. Despite lofty constitutional promises, India's Dalits face relentless socio-economic oppression enforced by an unyielding caste hierarchy. According to India's own National Crime Records Bureau, nearly 51,000 caste-based crimes occurred in just 1 year, 2021, with an abysmally low conviction rate of 32%. Does this sound like justice, or is it state-sponsored complicity? International human rights organizations such as Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International routinely document disturbing atrocities. The haunting massacre in Khairlanji village, Maharashtra, where a Dalit family was publicly humiliated, assaulted, and murdered, remains a chilling reminder of entrenched caste brutality. Yet, how many perpetrators face punishment? Shockingly few. In Uttar Pradesh, a young Dalit woman in Hathras was brutally gang raped and murdered in 2020. The police, rather than protecting the victim, forcibly cremated her body overnight to erase evidence. Such harrowing events reflect not isolated incidents, but an institutional culture of violence against Dalits. In Uttar Pradesh alone, India's most populous state, 12,287 atrocities against Dalits were officially recorded in 2022, and that is nearly a quarter of all cases in India. Why does this systematic violence persist? Because discrimination is embedded within India's socio-political framework. Dalits represent nearly 17% of India's population, yet suffer pervasive poverty, exclusion, and humiliating segregation. Millions toil as bounded laborers and manual scavengers, jobs considered inhumane globally but reserved for Dalits by India's modern democracy. Human Rights Watch notes that entire Dalit families can be forced to live in segregated hamlets with poor sanitation and schools, with more than 20% lacking safe drinking water. Such socio-economic deprivation is compounded by discrimination. Educational segregation remains rampant. Dalit children are often refused tuition by teachers. Dalit farmers are cheated on land contracts, and Dalit women routinely face humiliating untouchability rituals, for example, being forced to drink water from separate vessels or touch only the lowest kitchenware. The overall effect is a multi-generation cycle of poverty and exclusion. Politically, Dalits are systematically sidelined. Reserved seats exist only in name, offering no genuine empowerment. Elected Dalit representatives are publicly humiliated, prevented from even sitting among higher caste councillors. If India's democracy genuinely functions, why does it fail Dalits so miserably? State-wise, atrocities vary, but brutality is universal. Bihar's caste wars, led by upper caste militias such as the Ranveer Sena, have claimed thousands of Dalit lives with almost no legal accountability. Maharashtra remains infamous for caste-based lynching, and Tamil Nadu, despite progressive rhetoric, still witness rampant discrimination. Internationally, India's caste atrocities have drawn scathing criticism. The UN Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination repeatedly highlights India's refusal to recognize caste persecution as racial discrimination. India's denial exposes its unwillingness to address the grave injustice sincerely. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh once admitted caste oppression in India rivals South African apartheid, acknowledging the truth yet failing to change reality. How long can India deny that caste oppression violates basic human rights and international law? Police complicity and judicial apathy further victimize Dalits. Investigations are routinely compromised, evidence lost, and victims intimidated into silence. With a conviction rate barely exceeding 1/3, India's justice system effectively protects upper caste aggressors rather than Dalit victims. This systematic exclusion has not gone unnoticed globally. The Dalit persecution has intensified under the divisive policies of Modi's regime, promoting Hindutva extremism and suppressing minorities systematically. We must question India. How long can you mask apartheid behind democracy? How many more Dalit lives are to be sacrificed? India's democratic claims ring hollow as long as Dalits endure segregation, violence, and humiliation daily. True democracy is inclusive, just, and fair. Values India has systematically denied its Dalit population. For Dalits, freedom remains an elusive dream, strangled by caste-based brutality entrenched in India's very identity. It is time the world acknowledged the reality behind India's democratic facade. A nation where millions live a life of perpetual indignity, victims of a system designed not to empower, but to oppress. This is Amara Farid Baloch, and you are watching Nexus Bulletin.